Okay, so we're gonna give some ideas on how many people uh, have done the undead, basically, to them, like to their bodies and stuff had it. The undead techniques are, do you feel excruciating pain severely for 7 to 8 hours, give or take? And each way you undead yourself is different. So, to undead yourself, you would cycle through 7 hours of excruciating pain to 7 hours of excruciating pain again. And then you get 7 more hours on top of that of excruciating pain. It's every couple hours you start to feel something painful. And there's only one or two ways to actually help that is to supposa yourself. Supposa is a spell you say that would get rid of severe pain, but not the excruciating pain. The excruciating pain stays for 7 more hours, and the best way you can clear that up is Kapota. Kapota clears up your insides as well, keeping you numbed out in your body and tranquilizing you. So it takes tranquilizers in the undead time. Um, if all you know what the undead means, it means that, basically. Um, There's 17 different ways you can die in life, and that cycling uh, through the neck is one of them. And the neck paralyzes you up from your waist down, but in your brain cell, you can still feel the kopoto, which is right here in your head, and you'll feel it for 17 hours on top of that because you did it through the neck. Now, if you do it through the wrists, that one numbs you out and paralyzes you for 17 more hours, making you undead for 20 more hours of pain, but it does not do pain severely as the other ones do. It does a supposo in your brain, which accelerates right here, and it makes you where you numb out rather than feel pain. That one's the most excruciating pain, they say, but if you do it with Kita Poi, which is another cutter right here, and you cut right there, you can knock out the pain that comes from here because it cuts through the limbs right here and it paralyzes your body to where you won't feel the severe pain and death. So if you want to stop the severe pain, you would hit this part too. This part here numbs you out to where you don't feel it. And then there's the Sapakiata Latif technique of the undead, which is right here, paralysis. You numb out your arm right here. After cutting your wrist from here to here, you will cut here and circulate your insides, like doing this right here all over and up, twisting your wrist all the way up with a string, wire, or tactical technique, and that would numb out your body to the paralysis state to where your body will not have no condition whatsoever go into your body to friction your brain. There's also a couple other techniques to make it as pain-free as possible in death. There's the Sakanata one, which is right here on your foot. You would be pressing right here with the needle in your leg and press tightly in there. And when you do, the supposas will go up here to the top of your leg, and you're going to want to take a pota, which is a knife. You slice your foot right here, well, your leg right here, and numb it out with the kapata, which is a very sharp object that goes through your kapitiata. And when it cuts through your Siberian sita, which is a special technique that you would slice through 3 or 4 times, going through the nail spot and the kita spot, that'll numb out your coloto to where you won't feel any pain and death whatsoever. Now, there's other several ways to have death without having any pain. There's a couple. There's the potiata, which is right here. You hit right here and you numb it out 300 times fold with a hammer or a nail cutter, and you slice it right here over and over and over, and it paralyzes your brain during the Subukada state. Then you want to hit this part right here, your nerve ending, really tight right here, and it pushes your nerve ending up, and it pushes it where you won't feel no kita, which is the pain, the severe pain that you feel in death. It blares it out. Next, there's also the capitalati, technique, which is another death technique you can do to keep yourself from having any severe pain. And I'm going to stand up to show you this one. This is a technique they did back in France and Italy to numb out any severe pain for cancer patients. You want to hit this part right here, which is the nerve ending. You swell it up with wires and strings, and you tie it all the way up here, and you hold steady like this, and it paralyzes your neck down to where this Severian cancer here won't hit your nerve ending, and it will stop putting any severe pain into you during your death call. It circulates your whole insides to where it numbs out every corner of your body, circulating a Rita, which is a type of Severian cancer that pops up in your ovaries when you die. See, this is what they were worried about rebirthing people because that technique puts Severian cancer in your body. But to keep the Severian cancer from going up, you want to do the Patikata technique as well, which is you press here with a nail cutter straight down to your nerve ending at the very bottom of your foot, and you tilt it over and twist it. This works really well for the elderly and disabled whenever they pass over because they're going to pass over at some point. Usually, I'm going to say this, is when you pass over at an elderly age, you don't get the nerve ending damages that you do now. So the longer you live, the less likely you're going to be in pain when you die. Because your kota right here will numb out and blur your insides out while dying because your body has a process of age dysphagia. That means a discrimination of age limit, basically. You have up to 255 years of lifespan most of the time. Now, there have been cases where people have lived 555 years to 1,001 years, and that was because they did the Karata technique, which is what this girl here did. She collada her Kloid by nailing this part right here with Coupeauda, which is a well-known technique back in France, where they sliced her finger up right here. They sliced her thumb in her last life, creating the puta technique. And when they did that, this part laid open, and she was able to do this in her life, which is bring people from dead to life. That's a technique that only secured people know how to do, and they remember how to do the same techniques over and over in the next trillion, billion years they still live. So they die and they pass on the same information that they had in their last life, bringing back the same memories that they were able to live and reproduce the same mannerisms that they did in their last lives. In order to do that, you want to do the Kita Lati state, which is in your last life, you're going to have numbed your arm out, tilting it 555 degrees to the left, which is like this, with a nail cutter through your arms right here, saying that she must have died severely, right? But the thing is, she died so severely that she was able to reincarnate herself back into life again, doing the same techniques she did before, birthing in reality the same techniques that you can think of in death. Like when people think of their death, they're like, I remember my death. That's because you got a Ribicorio diata in your brain right here that does a obliteration spell. And every time it does a obliteration spell, you remember each and every death that you've ever lived. And it does this supposa to where it won't remember the whole death, but that you can remember the being of the death. It's a pretty sick technique, but it tells you how you die. And it tells you repeatedly so you can always mannerism the techniques that you had before to make it where you won't die severely like you did before. It reproduces a brain cell and keeps you from killing yourself or keeps you from killing other people. It recycles you correctly. It does a brachiation, meaning right here, I must have been punched in my death right there just to get out of the life that I was, to numb out all the pain and severity that was in the death. They punched me right here, circulating my insides, and I died of ovarian cancer in my left ovary because the left ovary is tilted over a little bit to the right, meaning that I was abused and tortured in my last life, telling me that most of my lives I'm always going to be tortured, right? That's a technique rather than a being. So the only way I can fix that technique is supposed to my insides and degree out the problems that happened in the last life. Instead of cycling the same living being style, I would recycle an appropriate mannerism that keeps me from going into a bad state of mind, which is koto kota. Koto kota is a technique that Hell brought to Earth to help suppress the memories of the Sakata Maki technique, the death call, which is right here. She died by snapping this part right here on her brain cell. It went all the way up to her brain, and she hit this part repeatedly to numb out all the supposed pain that went through her arms, cycling her from death. That is how you recycle in life.